Hello, dear viewer. It is I, your friend, the Moonhorse. I don't know why I introed the video like that, but hi, it's me. It is time for another episode from Reddit user Erotius. I realize that now, after reading some of this, Eru is supposed to be pronounced Awu. I'm not doing that. No. It's getting too furry in here for that. No. Anyway, this is Vampire Beard, the Masochism, Part 2. The Endless D&D Game. Cast a magic missile at the darkness. Hey, howdy, hi, and how you doing? Well, hi diddly ho there, neighborino. It's me, Eru, back again with more Neckbeard stories. This one is likely to be posted in RPG stories as well, since it's definitely a weird one from the tabletop. I'm already excited. I haven't played D&D in a while, and okay, this is going to be great. In our last episode, we were promised a rousing game of D&D with Vampire Beard's Coven. The game had been prepared, and Im had created a cleric with ideas about necromancy. I mean, it is fun. This was pretty standard for him. Most of his characters are some flavor of a necromancer or another, and VB told us that his character was almost ready. He was making a bard, big surprise, and promised that it would be a little different. He was fond of a certain webcomic called Oglaf. Don't Google that unless you want to see adult fantasy comic that straddles the line of pornography. Oh god, I think I know which one it is, and my insides hurt. And a certain one had given him an interesting idea for a character. I'm certain it did. So the day arrives, and VP comes to pick us up. He said his car was out of the shop, and he wouldn't mind driving us to his apartment. We had never been, and were more than happy to drive ourselves, but he assured us that it would be much easier for him to just take us. So we packed up our gaming stuff and waited for him. I asked him if he had any idea where VP lived, and he just shrugged. I think it's close to work. I've seen him ride a bike before when he's not all decked out in his gear. I guess it can't be that far then. We heard his car before we saw it, and it made me instantly wish I had just driven myself. Vampire Beard's car was kind of a mess. I couldn't have told you what model it was. It was a collection of car body parts used to cover a frame that I think may have been a Taurus at one point. This car was colors. It was car-shaped. I assumed that he may have been in a series of vehicular incidents, and after riding with him, I upped that to real damn sure. His car, however, was free from most of the neckbeard garbage that one usually sees in a neckbeard mobile. There were some clothes in the back seat, work shirt, spare pants. I could hear some junk rattling around in the trunk, but it was pretty clean. I suppose that, given how much tail VP pulled down, this was probably to be expected. He was in his usual costume, saying how it was his character, and that's how he would be dressed, and he wanted to match, and we just kind of shrugged it off. So off we go to the Neckbeard's nest, his radio blaring early bardcore, before bardcore was a real thing. That's a thing? I didn't know there was a thing. As we talked about the game. By this point, I'd been DMing on and off for about 8 years. I've actually only gotten to play a character about 7 or 8 times in my 20 years of playing D&D. I had tons of material that Im hadn't even seen yet, and I'd selected the perfect campaign for a group of witches. We called it the Ethereal Funhouse, and it was basically just the Rose Red House from Stephen King's Diary of Ellen Rembauer. If the creature from Jeepers Creepers lived in it. That's an interesting combination. It was full of weird rooms, weird encounters, odd puzzles. I had a group of players TPK in there as they nuked a creature known as the Mythic Shit Dragon. Interesting name, but that's a tale for another day. So we drive out of town proper and into the outskirts, Gainesville, Georgia. At least when I lived there, was fine. As long as you stayed in the city proper, that is. The farther out you go, the more trouble you had with gangs and drugs and home invasions. We had found an apartment near the city proper because Im had decent credit and we both had cash. Vampire Beard lived in a sketchy loft-style apartment, which we got into very quickly before we were noticed by the elements around him. Inside, it looked like a Hot Topic had thrown up. Think Apartments by Tim Burton, and you're close. The walls had been painted black, the ceiling was red, everywhere hung movie posters, weird art, and velvet curtain hangings for some reason. He had an Addams Family-style futon in the living room, a bunch of bookcases, and an end table, and a little kitchenette that butted into his only bathroom. When he told me how much he paid for the place, I wanted to cry.
It really is the right mixture of grunge and goth, danger and allure, for seduction,
he said, a little too alluringly. I just imagine his apartment looks like the goth-themed rooms from, like, The Sims 2. I'm probably not far off in that assumption either. VB's sexuality was never expressly laid out there, and there was always some question as to whether or not he was trying to get with him or I. So we set up, and VB makes tea and brings out food. So, when's everyone else getting here, I asked, setting up my screen and taking out notes.
Oh, yes, about that. I'm persona non grata at the coven these days. There was a miscommunication with the High Priestess, and she caught me in bed with one of the other members. She got mad because she believed that we were together, and after finding out that I was with quite a few of them, told me not to come back.
Yeah, I can imagine that might get you thrown out of the coven if you kind of underhandedly fucked the entire coven. Not even a euphemistic way, like actually did it. Well then. Im and I just kind of sat there, stunned. This was another problem with VB. You could never quite tell if he was lying or not. We never straight out caught him in a lie, and often the lies we thought we caught him in were not lies. There's a short list. He told us that his dad had smuggled his mother out of the Philippines during the Gulf War. Truth, his parents actually confirmed this. He told us that he had been married to a druidess and they had a son together. Also true, I met her and she tried to have sex with me. That's a story for a different day. Oh! He told us that sometimes he drank blood from the women he was with. I wish this was false, but it isn't. We actually saw him do it. Yeah, I've seen people who do that. That's not that surprising to me. He told us that he had met with the band Alice in Chains. He had pictures and witnesses. Okay, I'm going to stop you right there. Issue with how you put this. He had met with the band Alice in Chains. A-L-I-C-E-N Chains. Alice in Chains. As in Alice is wearing them. Also, a really fucking great band. They were fantastic. So yeah, VB was a weird guy, but that's really beside the point. So, where's the rest of our group?
Well, I suppose it's just the three of us then.
Okay, no problem. I can work with this. We'll start out with 2 and get some more players later. We had a healer and a bard who, it appeared, was more of a swashbuckler than a bard, and I had a DMPC that I had been planning to use as their guide in the house, so we'd be fine. I asked to see VB's character sheet, and upon looking it over, quickly realized we would be less fine. I think you might have an issue here, VB. You wrote doppelganger under race?
Yes.
Do you mean changeling?
No, I mean doppelganger.
Okay, but that's not a recognized playable race.
Okay, but, and hear me out, I need this for my character.
He proceeds to lay out his character's backstory. His story, which I won't say the name of because he told me it was copyrighted and I'm not going to risk anything, was a doppelganger who decided to become an adventuring seducer and spending his life as a sex slave and finally breaking his shackles to go be his own person. He chose a bard because, of course, there's seductive proclivities, and now he basically fights and fucks his way across the landscape to make ends meet. He met his father, another adventuring doppelganger, who gave him a family heirloom, a wand that can trap people in a pocket universe, so he could turn into these people at will, ensuring a disguise whenever he needed one. Okay, well, that's a little overpowered, don't you think? We talked about it, and in the end I told him he could be half doppelganger. No detect thought. He could alter himself 3 times a day, and only with the wand. The wand could hold 3 people. He wanted it to turn into his personal pocket prison, and only small or medium build. And he could have 2 of the bonus to stats. Doppelgangers aren't too high-level monsters, and I figured it wouldn't break the game too badly. And so after some changes to the sheet, we begin. The two find themselves in a town, hired by a wandering mystic to help them cleanse a house for the mayor of the town. The house, Caliver Manor, is on an island outside of town, accessible by a bridge. Undead had been coming up from the house to menace the town, and the mayor was looking for someone to clean this mess up. They spent the first hour wandering around, VB capturing things in his wand for later, him getting supplies, before they finally set out with the old mystic. Here were some highlights from the town, things that should have tipped me off into the future shenanigans. VB wanted to find a noble merchant, a prostitute, and a beggar to trap in his wand. He wanted them to just cease to exist as they were sucked into the wand. He seemed to get annoyed when the merchant's absence was noticed. I mean, yeah, you can't just dispatch somebody. Other people are going to start asking where they went. Duh. The first session is basically them traveling to the house and fighting some ghouls in the front courtyard. The ghouls were dumbed down a little so they could beat them. Im's turn undead and the Wanderer's abilities helping them greatly, and they finally made it into the house. The house was technically split into 5 floors, each floor having some different pitfalls, traps, and challenges to them. They started exploring the ground floor, but by this point it was pushing 2 a.m. Dude, I'm getting kind of tired. I think it's time we call it for a night.
Yeah, man, it's getting late. Let's pick this up another time. What? Oh, come on, the night is young. At least get another hour in.
Nah, man, I'm tank. You think you could? About that time, there was a loud gunshot not far from the house, and all of us sat stock still for a few moments.
Sounds like the nightlife is kind of wild out there. Why don't you guys just stay here?
Now, I didn't have to be at work the next day, and neither did M. VB was off too, so we decided that we would just play the next night as well. It's not a real big deal to spend the night, so M took the easy chair and I took the couch. We slept okay, and in the morning, VB made breakfast when he got up, around noon, and we ate and talked about the game the night before, and VB asked if we wanted to go to the store for some snacks. So we went. We got some beer, some snacks for the game, and we got back. He suggested maybe we start playing again. M and I were amenable to this, and we started playing once more. The two of them proved to be a pretty good team. They navigated the house quickly. I noticed that they were having some trouble, a couple of casters by themselves, so I let them stumble across a barbarian that was lost in the house. His name was Grum, and he was dumb as a bag of hammers, and my favorite character of all time. Big, dumb, happy barbarian half-orc who loved nothing more than bashing things and helping his new friends. Now the party of 3 made it almost halfway through what should have been a month-long campaign, blazing through puzzles, steamrolling obstacles as they explored the house and strived for the top. They were just starting on the 3rd floor when I yawned and noticed that it was yet again after 2. M was leaning over his character sheet, interested but having trouble staying awake. The booze in the hour was taking its effect, and we were both tired. Vampire Beard, however, looked absolutely fresh. He was doing what he loved to do, it seemed, and as much as I hated to do it to him, I was exhausted. Alright, time to call it.
Oh, come on! We just got to floor 3 and...
Nah, man, M has work in the morning, and I want to sleep in my own bed. We gotta go home. Vampire Beard scoffed.
I can't drive you. I've been drinking. You'll have to crash here again. I'll take you home in time for him to get to work tomorrow.
I wasn't happy about this, but I was too drunk to argue, so I crashed on the couch again. M was already asleep on his character sheet, so I let him sleep at the table as VB retired to his loft. I slept like shit on this sofa, the sounds of urban decay particularly loud outside, and woke up kind of grumpy. Vampire Beard was once again making breakfast, and M was sitting at the bar and drinking coffee, rubbing his neck and nursing a crick in it. I checked my watch and found out that it was about 11:30. I started cleaning up my stuff, getting ready to leave, when Vampire Beard asked what I was doing. I'm getting my things together. M has to work today, and I gotta call in to see if I have to as well.
No, come on, man. We're not done yet. It's just, M, you can call in tonight, right?
No, dude. I actually have to work. I got bills to pay, and you have to work tonight too, don't you?
Oh, I already called out. I figured we'd do one more night and then take a break after. What do you guys say? One more night?
This is getting weird. Dude, I've been wearing the same clothes for 2 days. I've been sleeping poorly on your sofa for 2 days. I'm tired. I need a shower, and I'm ready to leave. Vampire Beard got a little huffy at this, clearly not used to being told no.
Huh, I'm not taking you to home. I don't feel like you appreciate my hospitality, and I'm not in the mood to take you to home.
Fine, we'll walk.
What? You can't walk, you'll get mugged.
Bro, if those crackheads want my D&D books and dice that bad, they can have them. I got no money and I got no patience. I'm leaving. Im, you coming? Im nodded, looking at Vampire Beard and shrugging.
Yeah, dude, sorry. I need a shower before working. I can't miss a day. Still on probation.
Vampire Beard sputtered a little bit, but I declined breakfast and Im and I left. We stepped out and realized that VB might have been right. This place was just as rough as we remembered. Think the apartment complex from training day, and we just puffed ourselves up and started walking. We probably gave some gangbangers a pretty good laugh as we just set our feet towards the west and kept going. We passed a Walmart on the way here, pretty big landmark out here. So we walked on, and fortunately for us, we were not accosted because I guess we didn't look worth the time. About a block later, a very familiar car pulled up, and Vampire Beard hissed at us to get in. Are you going to take us home?
Yes, just get in, okay?
We got in, and I figured, even if he just drove us back to his house, we could start walking again. Vampire Beard apologized the whole way back to the apartment, saying, he got a little too in his feelings about us not wanting to play that night, and spoke hastily, aka he let his beard slip out. We talked a little, and it was agreed that we would play at our place from now on, Mondays, Wednesdays, and Saturdays, as long as I didn't have to work. VB and M were off at 8 o'clock at least every night, so they wouldn't be a problem. He dropped us off, and I thought that we might have been firm enough with him that he understood that this wasn't okay and we weren't going to be held hostage anymore. This, dear readers, was the first mistake. The first of many. We would have another 10 months with this beard before he was sent running by a larger, more beardier beard. Come back next time when Vampire Beard puts some points into persuasion. Feel bad for me and puts them to good use. Until the next time, this is Eru, broadcasting from the swamps with more Neckbeard stories. Telling you the truth, no matter how beardy it is. And hey, if you like scary non-beard stories, check out my profile for good old-fashioned horror stories from yours truly. I actually looked up some of those, and they are really good. You're a very talented writer, Eru. I'm impressed. Let's put it that way. As for this wonderful specimen, this caricature, shall we say, this guy keeps getting more interesting the more I hear about him. Like, I'm definitely having flashbacks to, like, neckbeards I knew, because a lot of them that I knew weren't particularly, like, your stereotypical anime crowd, though there was a lot of anime involved. A lot of them were the more, like, edgy boy wannabe, tough guys from, like, the mid-2000s and shit like that. So much new metal. So, I can kind of feel where a lot of this is coming from. Again, I just imagine his apartment being, like, one of those apartments that's all, like, gothed out from, like, The Sims 2. I don't know why that's the thought in my head, but, like, yeah, that's the one I'm going with. There's, like, it's really obvious that this dude is really in need of, like, company. He's got this whole mentality and this kind of, like, action, charisma of, like, I'm cool, I don't need to worry about all these things, all these people. It's very, I'm such a vampire kind of energy. But in reality, humans are social creatures, and yes, you do need socialization, and so much so that you kept 2 people in your apartment for 2 days non-stop to play fucking D&D. I like D&D as much as the next guy, but there's a limit, sir. There is a fucking limit. So, yeah. This was definitely an interesting one, and I look forward to seeing what else is going to happen. I'm a little disappointed that we didn't get to meet the Coven, though. I was kind of looking forward to, like, the gaggle of goth children from Georgia. No, we didn't get that. That kind of sucked. But the rest of this was still really good, and we're definitely learning more and more about this man's. So, if you enjoyed this, please make sure you like, comment, subscribe, all that good YouTube stuff. I have a Ko-Fi and I have a merch store. You can check both of those out. I'd greatly appreciate it. And if you can't, donate or whatever, don't worry about it. I have a Discord server. And I also have a subreddit, r/Moonhorse Stories. You can post your stories there. I love you all so very, very much. And I'll see you in the next episode. Goodbye, everybody.